Welcome everyone, Questine here on Serious Gaming with my Steam Vaults dungeon guide for World of Warcraft The Burning Crusade on both heroic and normal difficulties. On normal, this will be one of the first dungeons that you'll be doing once you get to 70, and you'll be doing it over and over again. Not only for the items, but also for the reputation. It's what you farm in order to get revered with Cenarian Expedition so you can enter heroic. As for heroic, well, honestly, for the items, it's not really worth it, though the gems can be nice. And difficulty-wise, it can be easy, but it also can be tricky. Depending on how difficult it is on heroic, you might actually end up doing this more on heroic than you would on normal. And the reason here is not about the gear, but about the badges. See, you can do Steam Vaults on heroic. If you have a decent enough group, you can do it faster than most other dungeons. So you can get free, easy badges of justice. But again, depends on your gear, depends on your group, all that kind of stuff. My recommendation, having a warlock here, more so than anything else, is pretty much a must. Having someone to deal with poison is also useful. Having a mage, obviously useful in every situation. I might as well just say that the group comp you want to have for 5 mins is Warlock, Mage, Shaman, really, because that's how it feels in a lot of these dungeons. You can't do wrong by having such a group composition. You do want someone to AoE, and you also want someone that can burst down a single target. That's how your group composition should look like. That's your priority. Having a Warlock is useful because of the Banish, as well as Curse of Weakness, which can help you with some of the harder hitting mobs in this particular place. As you enter the dungeon, you'll be confronted by 2 Coilfang warriors. These guys are pathetic, really. They just, they debuff the tank, they do battle shout, they have defensive stance. Okay, not really challenging at all. And then a patrol involving a Siren and another warrior. The Sirens can be annoying because they have fear. Now, the thing about their fear is that it's a cast fear. So you can obviously deal with that. And of course, and you can also dispel it. That's the benefit. This is where you start realizing, oh yeah, this place is not particularly hard. And there's mobs like this. It's like the abilities they do might be dangerous, but you can deal with them. However, once you deal with those 2 groups of mobs, you do find 2 of the hardest mobs in the instance, the Bog Overlords. These guys may be more difficult than the actual bosses of this dungeon. They hit hard, they hit for AoE, they have poison abilities, hence poison cleansing be useful. A Curse of Weakness, Demo Shot, or even a combination of the 2 is also useful to deal with these. They will hit the tank like a truck, more so than probably anything else in this dungeon, but there's only 2 of them, and the reason you're dealing with them is to basically skip through the large number of mobs that stand in your way. I mean, this is what makes the dungeon potentially efficient to farm for badges, is because, hey, you wanna deal with the packs of mobs? Sure, go right ahead. Or hey, you want to skip and just get through with it? You might deal with 2 difficult mobs, but beyond that, you have an easy pass. After you deal with those overlords, you do have a pack here that may or may not be buggy. Like, the line of sight can be an issue with these pillars, though this is a private server, so pathfinding is kind of crap. I mean, this is one of the things people don't understand. They think, oh, private servers were good. There has never been a single private server that's ever compared to the quality of Blizzard scripting. There just hasn't. The pathfinding is always an issue. But anyway, with these groups, you do get some more Naga casters. In this case, an Oracle. She is nasty because she has this silence, and she also heals. So take that out first. And then engineers. Engineers do some AoE, so quite a bit of this dungeon, and like many other heroic dungeons, are like fuck you melee, where we don't care. I mean, even the Bog Overlords are screw you melee, we do a trample. Now, I'm pretty sure the casters in the group I'm in got hit by that trample, but anyway, engineers do some AoE, warrior, all that. Just be careful that you don't pull any pack. The elementals that patrol this place are fairly nasty, and if you pull them with the Naga group, you're probably gonna wipe. And then we get to Myrmidon's Cleave. And these guys also have something quite ridiculous. They execute. Yes, they execute the tank if the tank gets too low enough. So if the tank gets low HP, he's probably gonna die from the damage you do. Now, once you deal with those 2 Myrmidons, there's a patrol here in the corridor that you want to deal with. This is an Enchantress. Now, the Enchantress is not as annoying as either the Sirens or the Oracles, but she's still a caster and you want to deal with her first. She's basically like a mage. She comes with 2 warriors and a patrol, just deal with that. And then once the path is clear, what you want to do is you want to pull the pack ahead that has a lot of Naga casters. You want to pull them line of sight to take them down. The priority should generally be Oracle. Should generally be Oracle, Sirens, and then the others. Or you can potentially go for Sirens first. Depends on what you think is more dangerous, either the Fear or the AoE Silence. To be honest, in this case, like, this is on an overtuned server, though, to be perfectly clear. And even on this overtuned server, where we have some some ridiculous difficulties in some 5-man dungeons, we're just smashing through this with ease. And this has been the case ever since this launch. Might be different on retail, actually, in terms of dungeon difficulty. Anyway, once that group is done, what you want to do is you want to come and skip a pack. You can do it if you're not particularly comfortable, but you can skip it. Now, at this point, at the ledge, if you go down in the water here, you will find the elemental that you need for Khadgar, for the Karazhan attunement. That's where it is. So anyway, we have a patrol up here, and you really don't want to pull that pack, by the way, because it can be nasty, and there's also patrol nearby, so don't do that. You really don't want to wipe. Be careful about the Fear over here, so be careful about the Sirens, but anyway, it shouldn't be a problem to deal with this, just as long as the hunter, just as long as whoever has a pet isn't completed yet. And then you get to the first boss. Now, here is where a Warlock, or even Warlocks, here we had 2, here is where a Warlock or Warlocks are useful. Hydromancer Thespia comes with 2 water elementals. Individually, they're not difficult, but when you put them together with the boss, they can be nasty. So at least having one banish can be a benefit. They cast some water bolts, but the boss itself, she puts a lightning cloud over someone. The people need to move out of that, or they'll just die, like it happened here. And then when you kill her, the elementals may or may not despawn, depends on the scripting. But honestly, even if they don't despawn, it's a joke. So yeah, just if you can't banish both elementals because you only have a Warlock, just kill one. Just kill the one you can't banish, and then kill the boss. Once that's done, you can go in the water, get the elementals and the elemental for Khadgar, and then start heading ahead to the second and third boss. Now here you'll encounter sorceresses and sirens and all that kind of stuff. Basically, at this point, you've dealt with with most of the difficult shit in the dungeon. You just have more and more groups of mobs, groups of myrmidons, groups of casters, like. These groups with 2 Myrmidons and 2 casters can be annoying, especially since the Myrmidons can hit for a reasonable amount. But Demo Shout, Curse of Weakness on them, deal with the casters, and you should be fine. I can't stress enough how important it is to have either Curse of Weakness or Demo Shout in a group, because the damage reduction is fairly significant. So anyway, once all that is dealt with, you go to the right, you get some Slave Masters. Now, the Slave Masters are nothing, really, and you just kill them. Sure, you might get a lot of slaves if you're not careful, but honestly, this part is a joke. They can be annoying, don't get me wrong. They can be annoying, especially if they get a lot of mobs on their side, but especially because of the knockbacks that you might be dealing with. But overall, these guys are easy enough to deal with. And then you deal with gnomes. This is where having a paladin tank is very damn useful, but do you strictly need one? Probably not, honestly. But yeah, you get some gnomes you want to AoE down, some lepers, basically, and you deal with these. Now, these guys are nasty because they do a lot of damage, but they're basically AoE mobs that you just take down. Here we may have pulled a bit more than we could have chewn. Now, the second boss, the Mecha-engineer, is not hard in his own right. What's hard is that he keeps summoning ads. A lot of ads. Now, there are 2 ways that I see you can do it. You can abuse a pillar you can abuse a pillar that's just as you enter this huge room, and you pull the boss next to that, and people abuse that pillar to not have the ads really target them. This may not work on retail. Another thing is you can line a sight at some place. There's a pillar to the right of the boss beyond the bridge that you can use in order to line a sight, so that all the ads are all nicely clumped up and you can AoE them down. But having AoE is very important here. I'd say having a paladin tank makes this a lot easier. This is the hardest boss in the instance. If you can beat this guy, you've basically done it, right? It's like, I'd still maintain that those bog overlords at the entrance are the most difficult thing, but this guy, the Mecha-engineer, is nothing to sneeze at. So once you deal with him, you click his console. Don't forget to click his console, especially if you're not fighting next to him. Once you click the console, the way to the Warlord will open, and you deal with Mornaga. Again, same shit as before. Having someone to debuff Curse of Weakness, having Sheep, having CC, having stuns, all that kind of stuff is useful. Target the casters and deal with the Myrmidons. And you will have several groups of these to deal with in the room. I think there is, what, 4 groups of them that you tackle. Some with more casters than others, so they're a bit more dangerous. Quite a variety, isn't it? And then we get to the final boss, Warlord Kalithresh. He doesn't really do anything, to be quite blunt. Yes, he has a spell reflect, and yes, that is annoying. But the main thing he does is that he will go to a water tank, and he will basically activate the spell. Now, if that spell completes, while that spell is active, and if it completes, he gains a massive attack, a massive bonus in attack speed. Now, he hits so low on a well-geared tank that you might not even care about that, to be honest. Or you might want to leave him to get 1 or even 2 tanks fully active, just because he's so fucking pathetic, and the tank will have threat issues just because of how low he hits. More so a paladin. Like, a paladin is really great for the second boss, but a paladin kind of struggles threat-wise here, largely full reflect and also low damage from us. This guy is a joke. Like, basically, he is a joke. You can burst out the tanks, or you can ignore them. Generally, most groups will want to burst down the tanks, especially as they come in here for the first time around. And then you kill them, and that is Steam Volts. I mean, it depends on the values, right? If the damage is high, then yeah, you might need some gear to do it. But once you have the gear, it's such an easy mode dungeon for most part, especially if you have a Warlock with you, if you have a Paladin tank, all that kind of stuff. If you have those things, like, most of the dungeon is a joke, and it's really beneficial to be able to farm badges of justice. I would say that Steam Volts, along with Slave Pens, along with Akanai Crypts, are probably the first 3 heroics that most people will want to do, just because of, well, either because they have really good items or because they're so ridiculously easy to do. Heroics in Burning Crusade, for the most part, aren't a joke. And you may want to do some parts of Mecha-engineer as well, just because even if you fail to clear the instance on Heroic, which is a possibility, especially with the second and to a degree the third boss, if you fail to clear Mecha-engineer, you still get 2 badges of justice from the mini bosses, and you get 1 from the first boss. So yeah, Mecha-engineer can be worth it. But anyway, Christine here on Serious Gaming signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications, and stay tuned for more guides incoming and more discussion videos incoming. I'm probably going to anger a great deal of people with my next video. But yeah, stay tuned.